Profligate is noun. A person who habitually spends more money than they earn and lives beyond their means, often wastefully or extravagantly. A person who is careless or reckless with resources or funds, often resulting in waste or squandering. He was a profligate, always spending money on expensive cars and luxury vacations. The profligates of society are often looked down upon by those who prioritize frugality and saving. The writer's depiction of the wealthy as profligates drew criticism from some readers. The politician's reputation as a profligate made it difficult for him to gain the trust of voters. Many people view the profligates of society as irresponsible and selfish. Spendthrift is noun. A person who spends money recklessly or extravagantly, without regard to the future. Someone who is careless or wasteful with money, especially in the face of financial hardship. The millionaire was known as a spendthrift, often squandering his wealth on unnecessary things. The spendthrift's family was left with debt and financial problems after his death. The spendthrift's behavior caused tensions with his frugal spouse. The financial advisor warned the client against being a spendthrift and advised them to save more. The charity organization condemned the spendthrift ways of some celebrities who flaunted their wealth while others were struggling. Summit as noun. A meeting between heads of state or other high-ranking officials, often to discuss important matters. The highest point of a hill or mountain. The two leaders met at the summit to discuss a possible resolution to the conflict. Climbing the summit of the mountain was a difficult but rewarding experience. The summit of the tower offered a breathtaking view of the city. The G7 summit brought together the leaders of the world's largest economies. The company held a summit with its stakeholders to discuss its future plans. Tribulation as noun. A state of great suffering, distress, or trouble. An experience that is difficult to bear or overcome. The family went through many tribulations during the war, including displacement and loss of property. The entrepreneur faced tribulations in starting her own business, including financial difficulties and competition. The family went through many tribulations during the war, including losing their home and being separated. The athlete's injury was a tribulation that kept them out of competition for months. The business faced many tribulations during the pandemic, including supply chain disruptions and a decline in demand. Alacrity is noun. It implies a sense of enthusiasm and promptness. Refers to a cheerful readiness, willingness, or eagerness to do something. The students responded to the teacher's request with alacrity, quickly and eagerly completing the assignment. The team approached the challenge with alacrity, eager to find a solution. The volunteers worked with alacrity, eager to help those in need. The employees showed great alacrity in completing the task, finishing it well ahead of schedule. The athlete showed great alacrity in training, always ready to push herself to the next level. Apostate is noun. A person who has abandoned or renounced a religious faith or belief. One who has deserted or abandoned a cause, belief, or principle. The religious community shunned him after learning he was an apostate who had renounced his faith. The group leader accused the dissenter of being an apostate and threatened to excommunicate him. The politician's opponents called him an apostate for changing his stance on a key issue. The writer was labeled an apostate by critics for deviating from the literary movement he had once championed. The athlete was deemed an apostate by fans for leaving his team and joining their rivals. Buttress is noun. A support structure built against a wall or other surface, often used to provide additional strength or stability, something that provides support or protection to something else. The medieval castle's walls were supported by sturdy buttresses that helped to distribute the weight and prevent collapse. The architect designed the building with flying buttresses to add extra support and create an impressive, cathedral-like appearance. The crumbling cathedral needed extensive restoration work, including repairing the damaged buttresses that held up the walls. The retaining wall was built with buttresses to reinforce the structure and prevent soil erosion. The ancient temple's buttresses were decorated with intricate carvings and sculptures, adding to the beauty of the structure. Chagrin is noun, caused by a setback or a failure, refers to a feeling of disappointment, embarrassment, or frustration. Much to his chagrin, the student received a failing grade on the final exam. She couldn't help but feel a sense of chagrin when she realized she had sent the email to the wrong person. The politician tried to hide his chagrin when he lost the election by a narrow margin. The actor's chagrin was evident when he was passed over for the lead role in the play. The company's CEO felt a great deal of chagrin when the new product launch failed to meet sales expectations. Cornucopia as noun, a symbol of abundance and nourishment, typically represented as a horn-shaped container overflowing with fruits, flowers, and grain, an abundant and varied supply of something. The Thanksgiving centerpiece was a beautiful cornucopia overflowing with autumnal fruits and vegetables. The farmer's market had a cornucopia of fresh, locally grown produce for sale. The antique store had a cornucopia of unique and interesting items, including vintage books and art prints. The garden was a cornucopia of colorful flowers, including tulips, daisies, and sunflowers. The festival offered a cornucopia of activities for families, including music performances, food trucks, and craft vendors. Credulity as noun, a tendency to believe too readily, especially without sufficient evidence, the state or quality of being credulous or gullible. The teacher warned her students against credulity, urging them to think critically and question everything. The scam artist took advantage of the elderly man's credulity and convinced him to hand over his life savings. The cult leader preyed on the credulity of his followers, convincing them to do his bidding without question. The company's marketing campaign was designed to exploit the public's credulity and convince them to buy their product. The politicians' promises were met with skepticism by those who had grown tired of the public's credulity in the past. Dispensation as noun, a distribution, especially of resources or benefits, an arrangement or order for a particular situation. The school principal granted him a special dispensation to take the exam later. The church granted him a dispensation to marry his cousin. The government provided a dispensation for tax relief for small business owners. The landlord made a dispensation for the tenant to pay the rent late. The company made a dispensation for employees to work from home during the pandemic. Intimation as noun, a hint, suggestion, or implicit reference, a subtle or indirect indication or reference. His intimation that we were not invited to the party hurt our feelings. The subtle intimation of danger in her voice made me uneasy. The new employee's intimation of his experience impressed the manager. The writer's intimation that there was more to the story than met the eye kept the reader engaged. The intimation of betrayal in his partner's eyes was all he needed to know that something was wrong. Lassitude as noun, a state of boredom, listlessness, or disinterest, a feeling of being uninterested or unmotivated. A state of physical or mental tiredness or weakness, lack of energy or vitality. After working long hours, she felt a deep sense of lassitude and exhaustion. The patient's lassitude and lack of appetite suggested a possible illness. The lassitude of the economy was felt by many businesses struggling to survive. She struggled to get out of bed due to a sense of lassitude that weighed her down. The heat and humidity of the day left him in a state of lassitude. Miscreant as noun. A person who is wicked, evil, or morally corrupt. An individual who engages in immoral or criminal behavior. The police were on the lookout for the miscreant who had robbed the bank. The community ostracized the miscreant who had committed the heinous crime. The miscreant was arrested and brought to trial for his illegal actions. The town's most notorious miscreant was finally captured and put behind bars. The miscreant's family was devastated by his criminal behavior and the consequences he faced. Screed as noun. A long and tedious speech or piece of writing, especially one that is critical or abusive. A thin layer of concrete, mortar, or asphalt spread over a surface. The politician delivered a 30-minute screed on taxes. The book was criticized for its long screeds on philosophy. The professor's lectures were often screeds against modern technology. The blogger posted a screed about the decline of journalism. The email was a screed of complaints about the company's policies. Subterfuge as noun. A deceptive stratagem or device used to conceal, escape, or evade. Deception or trickery used in order to achieve a goal. He used subterfuge to avoid paying taxes. The company employed subterfuge to conceal its financial losses. The politician used subterfuge to discredit his opponent. The spy used subterfuge to gather classified information. The scam artist used subterfuge to defraud unsuspecting victims. Torpor as noun. A condition of apathy or sluggishness. A state of mental or physical inactivity or lethargy. The heat induced a sense of torpor in the hikers. She felt a sense of torpor after the heavy meal. The cold weather brought a sense of torpor to the city. The medication caused a feeling of torpor in the patient. His depression led to a state of torpor that he couldn't shake off. Vitriol as noun. A highly corrosive and poisonous acid made from sulfur trioxide and used in making fertilizers and dyes. Bitterly harsh or critical language or behavior. The politician's speech was full of vitriol and inflammatory language. The online comment section was filled with vitriol and personal attacks. She couldn't believe the vitriol that her innocuous social media post had sparked. The vitriol and hostility between the two sides of the debate made it difficult to find common ground. The coach's vitriol towards the referees resulted in a penalty for unsportsmanlike conduct. Zenith as noun. The highest point reached in the heavens by a celestial body. The point directly overhead in the sky. The team's performance reached its zenith in the championship game. The writer's career hit its zenith with the publication of her best-selling novel. The company's profits reached their zenith during the boom years. The artist's creativity was at its zenith when she was in her 20s. The sun was at its zenith, casting a bright light across the landscape. Accolade is noun. A ceremony formerly used in conferring knighthood, consisting of embrace and a slight blow on the shoulders with the flat blade of a sword. The artist received numerous accolades for their latest exhibit at the museum. The actress won an accolade for her performance in the leading role of the play. The company received an accolade for its commitment to sustainable business practices. The athlete's accomplishments earned them numerous accolades and awards throughout their career. The book received critical accolades and became a bestseller. Level up your English. Master vocabulary, idioms, and phrasal verbs with fun quizzes. Translate meanings into 104 languages. Download now. Link in the description. Please like and subscribe to our channel.